welcome to Into the West, a Middle-earth SPG podcast. We are back again with another tier list. Today's tier list will be the evil men profiles. So we have with us a guest, Rainier Lee, the master of evil men armies. Welcome back.
Always my catchphrase in an unexpected podcast is, I like evil men, and they always rip me for it because I just sound like a weirdo.
A real bloody weirdo.
Before we get started, there are just so many different evil men factions. Which one would you say is your favorite?
So it's my, goal to play and win with each evil men's faction. I've won with Harad, Corsairs, Khand, Easterlings, and Mahud, and most recently last year, I won an event in Lancaster with Dunlend. So the only army that's not on my list is the Ruffians, and I think they won't be on my list for a long time because that's way too expensive. But that said, I feel like at my current, not career, but I guess hobby life, I'm going more towards painting, and I'm going more towards a visual play style on the board. For that reason, I enjoy playing Khand the most. They're just stunning to look at. I also lived in South Korea for the last 2.5 years. I'm also part Asian, and they look hella Asian, so I like that kind of like dynamic into Tolkien's world. So yeah, I'd say Khand. Their playstyle is just really unique.
You know, like you brought up in the advanced armies episode, we definitely need to see a conversion with Tom Cruise on a chariot. That would be sick.
And then go up against Gondor, and they need to change their bolt action, their bolt thrower into a Gatling gun. Give it a special rule, like instead of 2d6s, you can roll 20 d6s.
So thematic.
It's very thematic.
I just wanted to take a second to thank all our patrons. We really appreciate your support. It allows us to spend a lot more time creating content for this channel. You can check out our Patreon and all the perks associated in the description below.
So I want to give a quick shout out to all the hobbyists who submitted photos for this episode. Please go check out their work and support them. If they have an Instagram handle, it'll be in the text in the photo and also in the video description. The first profile is the Black Numenorean Marshal. So what do we all think of this one from the Mordor list?
Fight 5 lanced up here that can march is nice. There's a lot of stuff in Mordor that can outshadow him. He kind of just gets left on the wayside. Fortitude him up, baby.
I totally agree with Ian. Like, that's exactly what I was going to say. He's a fortitude, but there's just way too much in the Mordor list to, like, ever make him a Valor. And he's too good. Fight 5 with a lance, like you said, like, he can't be a minor.
I think that's a good starting point. I mean, we can always adjust that, but yeah, I like him in fortitude. I think he's on the better end of the unnamed heroes.
Just make sure never to take the two-handed weapon option. Pay 5 points for a two-handed weapon.
This is the ranking for two-handed weapon.
Next, we have the Mouth of Sauron. What do y'all think of this one?
This is one of my go-to boys. Maybe it's because he is the staple of the Yellow Alliance. And yes, I'm going to preach again about it. If you're going to build a convenient alliance with Mordor, he's the guy to do it. He has March. He has Fight 5, 2 attacks, and he can throw the cheeky transfix. So I know this might be surprising, but I might push for like a lower end legend, but I would understand like a Valor as well, but nothing lower.
That's might be a bit of a tough sell. I think he should go in Valor. I don't know where in Valor, but definitely in Valor.
I think he should go in Valor. I don't see him being justified in Legend because I feel like he really succeeds at low points. High points, he kind of gets mixed in with like, okay, he's there, he's a little cheeky, but it's not like too much. So I would put him in like a mid tier to, probably a mid Valor. But like everything you said, Richard, I agree with. He's got Fight 5. He can go into combat pretty well. He transfixes stuff, especially at low points when you have your opponent have models with just 1 will. So Valor's pretty good.
I think if he had 3 might, it would push him to Legend. But right now, I think he's the best alliance option for Mordor to get in the cheap hero Valor. So he's still really good. Okay, the Easterling Dragon Emperor. Now, we've done a full episode on this one. So go check it out.
Is there a tier above legend? Because this sucker is good.
I can't even see him.
I'm trying, but yeah.
And I agree with you. I think y'all should, anybody watching this, go watch that episode because it goes into detail with why he's a legend. Some would even say broken, but we'll leave that up to another debate.
Okay, next we have the Golden King of Harad, and he is a look-alike to the Easterling Dragon Emperor, but what do we think of this one?
The OG man on the confusing base size. I don't know. I think maybe Fortitude, he's all right, but he's super hard to use well. So, I don't want to put him too high.
I think he's a minor. We struggled to give him a Fortitude when we talked about him on the Suladan episode. I think being a banner is nice, but he is just so overcosted for support hero. And being at Fight 4 without Heroic Strike, he can't really use him in combat that well either.
Yeah, I would put him there because it's just he doesn't have a role at all, to be honest, with a Harad list. I'm just really disappointed. And each FAQ that comes out, you're like, oh, they're gonna tweak him so he's playable, and they need cap him even more.
Yeah, you can't even spear support him anymore.
Next FAQ, he'll be independent.
Yeah, I forgot he was only Fight 4. All right, yeah, he's fine down there.
You can't even kill battle lines or do anything. You throw him up against some Dol Amroth, and they kill him, and you're like, okay.
How the hell can it get any worse?
And then when you want to do a cheesy combo with him with catapults and stuff, it's just it's so hit and miss, and you're investing so much. So, but I mean, it's fun.
Next, we have Amdur, Lord of Blades.
I would put him in a Valor and a high Valor. Now, I know he's kind of soft in the sense, but I say this with one fate, but I say this if you have him in your list and you have other heavy hitters and he's not your leader, because he is, I would say, the best anti-Fell Beast model. He has Fight 6, Elven Blade, Blood and Glory, free heroic strikes if someone strikes against him. He's just pretty darn good. Again, he's going to be overshadowed by the new heroes we'll probably talk about for Easterlings, but I'm a huge fan of him.
Higher or lower than Sauron? Because I do agree with the Valor rating. Lower because of the Dragon Emperor now?
Nah. Amdur's still great for his points, man.
Yeah. He's one of the best hero assassins in the game, but I don't know. I don't know. I really like Mouth of Sauron too.
It's difficult, because he's almost twice, not twice, maybe 50 more points than Mouth of Sauron, but he does, in my opinion, 60 more % than Mouth of Sauron. So I would just barely edge him over the Mouth of Sauron.
Next we have Rutabi, General of the Dragon Legion.
She's good. Master of Battle, is that on a 3+?
Yeah. Would you say she's great outside the Legion? Because we know that she's good combined in the Legion with the extra reroll and then with the Dragon Emperor support. Is she worth her points outside?
I would say she is, because we were talking in the last episode about Cav, and I think if you ally in Khan, for example, her rule benefits Khan, which doesn't have that much might on their heroes, because she can get basically free heroic moves off, and she's really good for that grind. So I think she's even good outside of the Legion. Of course, the Legion is the Legion, but
I'd say lower tier of Valor, because I think the Master Battle is a little bit limited because she's on foot, but she's really good in combat, so can do a lot of things.
I agree.
All right, Brorgir.
Put him probably around the same place as Rutabi, I think.
The only thing is, I think in low points, I've seen a lot of people when they have to take a second hero in the Legion, aside from the Dragon Emperor, a lot of people tend to lean towards Brorgir rather than Rutabi in a 400 to 500 range. And I do kind of agree with that, because it kind of gives you something a little bit different. Rutabi kind of goes into the phalanx, which the Dragon Emperor is kind of doing the same thing. So she's a bit of a repetition, even though that's kind of a good thing. Brorgir, I think, adds a little bit different, something a little different to the Easterling Legendary Legion.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So maybe behind Amdur. You guys are good with that?
I would say Amdur. The Mouth of Sauron's really good though. I don't know.
I put it behind Mouth of Sauron, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what I do.
Yeah.
Slightly in front of Rutabi, but like they both fulfill a similar role. I think like her in the Easterlings list is what makes her better than Rutabi because she just adds that crazy factor.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have the Dragon Knight.
Lowish fortitude. I think other things are going to pip ahead of it in fortitude, but I still think I'd probably put him in fortitude. I don't know about you guys. What do you think?
Yeah, in the Legion, he's good because he gets you more free Black Dragons. But I think outside the Legion, then you're kind of like, there's probably better heroes now.
Yeah, I think most anything in fortitude is going to pass him, but I don't think he's quite as justified to be in the same category as the Golden King. So
yeah, he's still got the 3 attacks and fight 5, which is really solid. It's just the other heroic stats that let him down, really.
Okay, we have the Easterling Captain.
Low fortitude.
He doesn't get the fight value buff from the Dragon Emperor, and in most Easterling lists, you're going to take the drum, so you don't really need the march.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that, and I agree with you. I think because of that, he might actually be a high minor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, you don't really need the march, like you said. You have the drum. You don't need him for the might points, because now you have Rutabi. I mean, hell, Brorgir brings 2 might.
The only thing he's good for is if you want to have a defense 7 model that's cheap to max out more models, I guess. I don't know. I just see in the Dutch meta, a lot of Dutch are swearing by him, but I agree more with you guys. If he'd be a high minor,
I think. Well, he has a small place now in the Legendary Legion because he can bring a 2-handed piercing strike weapon backed up by fight 5, so he can actually do some damage that way. But there's other stuff in the list that can do damage better and more consistently. So.
He can also be a mounted option as well. If you're playing outside the Legion, if you want a mounted hero with Amdur, but then there's always Dragon Knight as well. So I'm okay with a high minor.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get some hate from the Australians too, because I believe some of them have put them quite high on the list, but I agree with this. I'm okay with it.
Next, we have the War Priest. When the Brorgir profile came out, I was comparing these two, and the War Priest just looks so underwhelming now comparatively.
Yeah, I agree with you. So maybe a minor in that sense because we're comparing it to the Easterling list, and I don't see why anyone would take him over Brorgir or Rutabi.
Yeah, that's the thing. You don't really, most Easterling builds, you're not going to take 2 casters. So yeah, I think you're just going to want one of the other heroes that can hit harder anyway.
Yeah, he's slightly cheaper, but then do you really need an armored horse? That's what he has on Brorgir, right? That Brorgir doesn't have. Okay, next we have Dalamyr, Fleetmaster of Umbar. Last time Rainier was on here, we talked about him, and we rated him pretty highly. I don't know, personally, I still think he's up there. What do you guys think?
I think he'd be a low legend to a high valor. Just the idea that he's something like 90 points, but he can lead 18 guys who are all undercosted. I'd put him at a low legend, but
I think so.
Yeah.
He's got enough going for him that it makes up for the his downsides because of the cost. Like you said, it's a very nice profile.
Yeah, and we talk about killable leaders. He's not that killable because he has quite a lot of fate and an elven. Well, stock and scene.
Delgamar, Gatemaster of Umbar. Personally, I think this model is a little bit hard to use. He's only 3 might hero in this list. A little bit pricey, I would say. I would say he's a fortitude. He's a hit or miss. I brought him to a tournament, and about half the games he did his job, and the other half he didn't pull his weight, and he felt like a waste of points.
Yeah, I think fortitude's pretty good. I mean, he is a hero value, so he can also help you hoard out a little bit with the Corsairs, which is what you want. I don't know. Does he go above the Dragon Knight and the Marshal?
I would say he goes above both of them because he does add that, like you said, he in the 15 models in his warband, and you're right, he still gets three attacks, 3 might, which for the list is pretty good. I'd say highish fortitude.
Yeah, and I guess in like an 800-point match, like you probably do end up taking him most of the time if you're going to go pure Corsairs.
Maybe if you're not Rainier. We know Rainier.
Just more captains for Rainier.
Now I can be like what is the word? Y'all can change my mind because that I played them when he just came out. I would most likely, and I know in past I was always like Huskarls suck. Why would you bring Huskarls in a Dunlend list? And I brought like 8, and I was like, oh, I need more. So like maybe my mind would be changed in an 800-point list.
Okay, so next one we know Rainier's answer then.
Legend. No, just joking. Fortitude, baby.
Above Dragon Emperor.
He's the top one. Everyone's gonna be all tilted.
The Corsair Captain is a good profile. You know, he's a really cheap, fight 5. You can give him a crossbow. You can give him a shield. Really decent fighter. I could see why Rainier likes to take more than one of them.
I wouldn't discount the two-handed weapon either, because he also gets backstabbers when he's pure, so +2 to wound, and he's going to be rolling 4 dice because the model's going to be trapped. That's kind of nasty. I think I'd still probably put him in Fortitude, probably just behind Delgamar.
Yeah, I'm kind of like debating. I would put him above Delgamar just because he's the one that actually brings the march to the list that's really needed. So it's like crossbow, march to the list, 2 might to where you can dishorse a hero or you can wound a hero. You can like go into Aelmir, make Aelmir strike, throwing weapons, and on top of that, he's something like 30 more points less than Delgamar. I'd put him above him.
He's like 25 points less and has 1 less might. So if you think about it, the Corsair Captain is just as good amount of might for the points. So, yeah, I agree with that. Next we have the Corsair Bosun.
Peter Jackson himself. I mean, I love Pete, and like I think obviously he's a must-take if you're taking Reavers, but I think I agree with Rainier that Reavers are not a necessity in the list. You can definitely build a strong Corsair list without it. So maybe low Fortitude for me.
Yeah.
I'd place in the same place.
The banner effect is still good. I mean, if you don't want to take a black Numenorean with a banner, which costs almost the same as a Bosun, I think
it's just the 1 might, I think, too.
But it's kind of
1 might fight 4.
He's only fight 4. Yeah. I think he's fine at bottom of Fortitude because I don't know, unless you're going the route with the Reavers, you're probably just gonna ally in Suladan anyway because it's actually a banner and it's a bigger banner effect anyway. So yeah. He's got his place, but only in a specific build.
Yeah. Next, we have Thrydan Wolfsbane from Dunlend.
The OG Dunlend.
I don't think I've ever actually played with this model. I played against it a fair amount of times, and I love the profile, so I'm going to advocate for him being, like, somewhere up there in Valor. Probably not, I don't know, maybe around the middle?
Nah.
No? I just love the damage potential from it.
I'm with Ian too. I'd put him mid Valor because you need him for the Legion. And the Legion, you get 6-inch banners. The Legion, you get Death to the Foregoyle, where he's basically screams death and like everyone gets +1 to wound. So, and they all hate Rohan, +1 for Rohan. So I would put him there in a sense because he's not going to be like an Aragorn or killing a lot of stuff, but he'll still kill troops. He'll still like throw him into hero and heroic strike with 2.
My argument is that if you're taking like an Isengard like mixed list, you're probably taking Gorulf and like maybe some other like Uruk-hai heroes ahead of him. Like you don't really see him like getting mixed in, and I feel like if he's that good, you would probably take him to like lead Uruk-hai.
I'm surprised more people don't, honestly. I think more people should be. You still got the fight 5 on the charge that he's mounted, right? And that's like a rare thing in Isengard in any case.
He's not too threatening looking, but he can be a real threat if used right, because he gets he gets double wounds if he gets it off.
He has Mighty Blow, and he has a sword and a 2-handed axe. So even if he does the wounds with the sword, it's still gonna double wounds. It's not attached to a weapon. It's just any weapon he uses. So I don't know if I'd put him above any of the Valor heroes we have up there right now, but I think by the end of it, he's probably going to be somewhere in the middle.
All right, Charles, you be the tiebreaker.
Okay. He's great in the Legion. Outside the Legion, he's too expensive and squishy for a Fortitude hero. I could still see him as a good assassin. I think top of Fortitude.
Oh man, this is tough. Okay, I guess because Rainier, I'll say, actually plays the list, Dunland. We'll give him the edge here. But
You guys are like, I don't want to offend the person who we invited. You guys would have been Fortitude.
he'll never come back again.
I like him there in a sense, because even if he was in Fortitude, I would put him in front of the captain. But in Valor, I would put him like behind Rutabi. So, but if you guys want to put him in Fortitude, like I'm totally okay with that.
Maybe we can reevaluate once we get other things up there.
Okay. Once we see Grima, Wormtongue, and Valor.
Yeah, next we have Gorulf Ironskin. Do we think he is a better hero of Dunland than Thrydan? Because he is slightly cheaper. A foot hero, also hits pretty hard.
They're kind of in the same spot for me, honestly.
See, I'm not just saying this to be on Ian's side, but I agree with Ian, because the problem with him is you can't put him on a horse, and I think that's what makes Thrydan so threatening. Is he can play that role like the Mouth of Sauron, who's up in Valor, but like even worse against heroes. So I'd put him. I would compromise if you guys want him above Thrydan, but I'd say he's in about the same league.
Okay, I'll put him up Thrydan, yeah. And I don't usually vote for foot heroes, but I just think the heroic defense, he's kind of like the elf helm type of hero where you throw into like an Aragorn over and over again. So I don't really care if he's on a horse or not. And then you just like piercing strike. And then if the enemy leader like flops a roll, then, you're doing some damage. So I really like him, but I'm okay with the compromise. So the next one, the Oathmaker.
I think he's great. Just being a might battery, 3 might for under 50 points is great. I don't know if he has that big of a role when there are other options for fearless. If you're gonna already take Husk Girls in the Legion, do you really need that many Wildmen in order to justify him? And then in a normal Isengard list, you also have options for Courage.
I mean, Wildmen are so cheap though.
Yeah.
I like him for just that might battery also. So you, in a sense, you're going to be calling your heroic combats with Gorulf and your heroic combats with Thrydan, but you're really going to be calling your heroic moves with the Oathmaker, and he has 3 might for that. And then also to the 5 points for a model that you can throw axe on for free and be fearless. I would say that puts him at like a low Fortitude. Based off my opinion, because I used him at an event in the States last, I think it was November, I would put him in front of the Bosun for sure.
Yeah, I think so, for basically the reasons you guys said. Like, in a lot of Dunlending lists, you're going to want to run like him and a warband of the Wildmen because it boosts your numbers up so much for so cheap, and they can still bring in the 2-handed axes if you need somebody to do damage. Yeah. I think they fill a role pretty well.
I agree. I would actually put him maybe a little bit higher, maybe like behind Delgamar. I think he is a good pick in certain points and certain lists, and definitely in the Legion. I don't think it's bad to take him in the Legion.
I'd agree with that.
Next we have Frida Tall Spear. So I think she's a pretty solid profile. The only issue is she's like 5 points less than Gorulf, and then when you compare the two, you always seems like most players want to pick Gorulf as the second one. And so Frida gets left out.
Yeah, unless you're doing an 800 point to 1,000 point list with the Legion, I'd agree with you.
I would put her near the top end of Fortitude.
Yeah, she's still got the fight 5.
Above or below the Wildmen Oathmaker?
It depends on your build, right?
It's weird because I think she has the better profile, but like Charles said, she's a bit redundant to Gorulf. So if you go Gorulf and then you want a third one, and maybe you want to spam out a bit more, maybe you go Oathmaker first.
I like that. She brings the profile, but the Oathmaker brings the units that buff up the army.
I will say that she is a good pick for Isengard Pure as well, because you don't have many defensive heroes.
Well, the canceling the cavalry bonus is really good for Isengard because they struggle against big, fight 5, fight 6 mounted heroes.
Yeah.
Okay. Going to the bottom here.
Generic Dunlending Chieftain.
He's got 2 will. That's weird.
He's the only heroic march in the Legion, and with a defense 5 army in the army of Dunlend, you want a way to close in, right? And that's when you take him.
Yeah.
So I think he plays a role.
Yeah, he's still, got the strength 5 base, and he can take the 2-handed weapon. So it's another thing that can do damage. I think that's a fine placement for him, because he still is only fight 4 though.
Yeah, it's the march that puts him up there as the only model that can march.
All right.
Grima Worm Tongue.
Maybe
he's good. I mean, the downside is you have to take him with Saruman, right? But
yeah, and then you're spending what 200 points on that combo basically.
He's kind of a must, and he's a must in Isengard if you bring Saruman for sure. But I don't know, he's kind of interesting. But so we have a legend hero that like just kills stuff or does amazing things and does all this thing, and it's like Grima up there seems wrong.
It does, but think there's a lot of objective scenarios, right? And being able to put a model on an objective that your opponent can't kill, they can't do anything about it. Like they can charge him and like occupy him, but they can't really get rid of him unless you have a wizard.
That's true. And then to control like a certain aspect of the battlefield too with the might. That's true. So legend.
Like the impact he has on the game for 25 points is huge.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really ignore him.
What about the situations where your enemy has a spell or a special rule that can neutralize him or kill him instantly? Then you're down 25 points, 35 if he's on a horse.
He's not completely useless. You just deploy with your army, and he can kind of be, like a resource drainer, right? So I think he's definitely less effective in those scenarios or those matchups, but I don't think it's completely useless. Maybe like he suddenly goes down to like half its cost value, but
no, but even like I like that y'all mentioned like the scenarios. Domination, he's going to be contesting one objective the whole game, and it's like, okay, well, you can like 3 to 4 models or Grima to contest that. Grima guaranteeing that you contest it. I can see like why he should then now be in Legend, because he does have all those different tools.
Or like Reconnoiter. That's a guaranteed model to get off the board. And you know how tournament games are. Like it's a struggle sometimes to get one off the board. So
especially if the time is tight, like it's just getting across the board. Yeah. I don't know where I'd put him in Legend, but I think I agree. Maybe he should be at the bottom of Legend, but I think he should probably be up there.
Like I think maybe above Dalamyr in my opinion.
If you didn't need Saruman, then 100% he's near the top Legend. If you could just take him alone.
Yeah, I think because of the point stacks and stuff, I'd put him at the bottom of Legend, of whatever ends up in Legend, but I think he still goes up there.
All right, Rainier, tell us where you want him. Before or after Dalamyr, your boy.
I'll say after, just for the sole reason that like Richard's like, no. Only for the sole reason that you really need a lot of skill to get what we're talking about. Like it does take a lot of tactfulness. Your opponent can deploy a warband away from an objective marker or away from a certain board and just continually commit one model to stop him and make him from doing something the whole game. So just for that reason, Dalamyr is a guaranteed 18 warriors. Grima's like at the worst not going to do anything in the game. But yeah, he still should be up there.
All right, another Legend. So where on the Legend?
I say you go above Dalamyr for sure.
Yeah.
Even potential. Nah, he's like on the same category as the Emperor, but not as, because he's so cheap. Like
he is very cheap,
and he's got
not
a
as undercosted.
Hero of Legend. I mean, the only problem is when he's your leader, but you can ally that in with like Gothmog or Dalamyr or any other hero of Legend that's cheap. So it's kind of like the holes that he has of being weak in defense can be plugged really easily.
I would be tempted to put Suladan above the Dragon Emperor.
No.
No way in hell.
Here's the only reason why I would not, though, is Suladan still can be soft and flash killed The Dragon Emperor can't. So when it comes to players who are just beginning or just starting, worst comes to shove, they're not going to get as much, like a new player won't get as much out of the Dragon Emperor that an experienced player would. But and on the other side of the coin, worst out of a game with Suladan is he's just going to die. So it's like, for me, the Emperor is a little more forgiving with his high defense, more fate, and his big bubble that beefs up the troops. That's the only reason. But Suladan should be, like, without a doubt, he'll probably like top 3.
It's close. It's close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, the Haradrim King. I like this profile. If you're playing pure Serpent Horde, he's pretty cheap. You know, fight 5, you can give him a lance, and he has a heroic march. I think it's a pretty good profile. Also, if you're trying to spam out with like a betrayer build, you know, that's 15 slots. So I think he's a solid fortitude.
Yeah, I would put him either before or after. I would put him before the Black Numenorean, to be honest, but around that area for that purpose, just because a fight 5 lance can kill stuff on a horse really well, and you got to think when you do take him in a pure list, you're going to be taking maybe 1, 2, 3 of him, and he has heroic march as well, right?
Yeah.
So he plugs in a lot of holes for not too many points, and he's not going to be that threat where everyone's like, oh, let's focus all the bows and just kill him. Let's focus all the heroes and kill him. He'll have the room and the space in the list to go munching with heroic combats against troops with like Serpent Riders. So for that reason, I'd put him before the Dunlend.
Frida.
Yeah, before her, just because you don't bring her really, and you would bring him more often. But I'm a big fan.
So Raza is the next profile. One of the newer heroes. I don't know. I think probably pretty low for me.
I'd put him in the middle of fortitude. I think he's perfectly fine. And everybody shits on him way too much.
I don't like this profile very much. I think the fight value buff thing is a little bit gimmicky. Like, I've never actually had it done successfully to me or done it myself. And he's fight 4.
My thing is, so that fight value buff thing is nice. I almost never use it to target like big enemy heroes. You know, in most point value games where I have them, probably like higher points, you know, at least 600. So my opponent's going to have at least one smaller hero most of the time. So you pick them as the target. If you get into them, perfect. You now have the fight value advantage, and he's got 3 attacks, rerolling to wound. He'll probably kill him. If your opponent has another small hero like that and he ends up in combat with them, he can strike up and still probably kill them. If he's fighting troops, he can go one-on-one with a troop and he can kill it, win the fight and kill it. Doesn't matter that he's fight 4. And he's got 3 might, which I think he's the only other model in the Serpent Horde besides Suladan who does. And in a lot of other like lists, like if you're taking him with Corsairs, he's one of the few models that has 3 might. So I think he should at least be in fortitude.
I like him in a pure Harad build, a build that I would like to play that does not have the Betrayer. Because you have like him sprinkled in with some kings and Suladan and just all these shenanigans. So I would put him in fortitude for that reason. It's just in a pure list if you want to build a horde army where you have a lot of hitting power and you throw him in where the enemy just, oh, what do I focus on? Do I focus on all your troops or all these different heroes? And he's just there and he can do some damage. So for that reason, I'd say fortitude as well.
All right. The compromise is he's behind Pete Jackson then.
Very bottom. He has to be at the very bottom.
Okay. Controversial pick here, Hasharin. Some people swear by them. I don't know. I personally have not seen them do as much.
I would say minor. I would even put him behind the Easterling Captain. I say this just because he has 1 might. So if you want to throw him against a hero, he can heroic defense and survive for 1 round and die the next round. Or he can heroic strike and do a 50-50 survivor die. If you gave them 2 might, he'd be kind of fightable. I mean, Dalamyr has 2 might, and he's not like the most combat-y guy. So 1 might for me, that's why I put him at a minor.
So, yeah, I mean, I think I'd still maybe put him at the top of minor. Like, he's fight 5, he's got 3 attacks, he can reroll the wounds, he can still do the damage, and he can do, like, fighting perfectly fine. He's not going to fight heroes well. Yeah, I think he's fine there. I'm just thinking of more reasons why Raza is better than him, actually. So I won't go into that.
Barely.
No, I agree with you in that aspect because like the same thing in the East Coast, like we always are like Raza. Not many people pick Raza, but nobody picks the Hasharin, and for that exact same reason is Raza's about this. He's cheaper, I believe, and he gets 2 more might.
There is a place for the Hasharin, but it's in a very specific build. Anyway, we can get into that some other time.
Okay, we have the Haradrim Chieftain next.
Minor, I would say, just because you have the king, who's just a tad bit more, and he adds way more than what the chieftain could. So I don't really see people. I see them taking them, but I don't see why they would take them.
Yeah.
Besides the horde aspect, but
It's a 10-point difference.
It's 10 points, and the king gets an extra will, an extra courage, and an extra fight value.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I
3
put him
slots.
pretty low. Yeah.
3 slots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we have the Beastmaster Chieftain. So the upgrade on a Mûmak. What do we think of this? I mean, it's a pretty common upgrade for when people take a Mûmak for the courage and for staying on the battle and also the extra might. So I do think he's pretty good, but the Mûmak itself isn't super competitive. So I would say probably like a fortitude. You know, it's pretty good upgrade if you want to take the profile.
Yeah, you get an extra courage and an extra might, will, and fate over the other guy for 25 points. And I think it's probably always worth it if you're going to take the Mûmak, because you really want to avoid the tramples.
Probably put it, in front of Peter Jackson.
I like that all of our reference to the whole show is just Peter Jackson, where Peter Jackson is.
Okay, we have the War Leader next.
Most expensive model on the list.
Yeah.
Probably pretty ranked similarly to the regular Mûmak if you're going to take like a Mûmak centered list. So maybe right above the.
The special rules, a lot of them are in the Legion, right? Where you get the canceling heroic moves.
Yeah.
Canceling heroic moves is in the profile.
Or it's the profile.
It's a pretty good profile, yeah.
So you want to move it up?
Yeah, it's also a Fight 5 Mûmak, so I think that's a big difference. I think the reason why it's not top competitive is it's dependent on your meta's terrain. I would put it near the top of Fortitude because I think that if you're playing on open boards, he is a pretty deadly hero in higher points.
He's courage 6 too. That's really good.
Yeah, if you put him in context with what he does, I see why he'd be high fortitude too.
Yeah.
He's just pretty actually I filmed like yesterday with an unexpected tourney, and Devin was just saying that's one of the models he hates the most because he cancels so much out when you come against him. So I think in the right situation, he's really good.
Yeah. Okay. The Haradrim Taskmaster.
Minor?
Maybe minor, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
the
just-
whips just don't do as much as they used to.
It's not guaranteed. Like Suladan's banner is a guaranteed roll to fight. Other models are a guaranteed 3 might or a guaranteed fight 5. His, whatever you give, it's not really guaranteed, and you have so many cheap heroes in the list that you already have a lot of might. So yeah.
All right. Here's Rainier's expertise.
Is this the king?
Khandish King.
I'll probably be controversial, but I would actually put him only in fortitude.
Oh.
A high fortitude. Well, actually, no. Now that I see the models on the board, I'd put him before. No, I'd probably put him in Thrydan. Maybe before Thrydan, actually. But he's not. He's great, but he's actually quite expensive, to be honest. And I don't see why you would take more than one in a list, especially when most of the list is 13 points. So yeah, I'd rank him above Thrydan, but behind Gorulf. Let's put him above both of the Dunlending boys, but that's just my opinion.
It's hard to rank.
It is hard to rank because you can ally him in and he does. Then if you ally him in, he's more towards Amdur. So guys, disregard everything I just said.
Well, it depends on like if you're bringing a bunch of con stuff with him, so you're using the banner effect, then you're getting more like value out of his points. If you're not doing that, then maybe a chieftain would be better if you're just going to 1-drop something in, because they're both still fight 5. I mean, I guess he's got the extra attack though, which is that's pretty good.
I would say in front of Gorulf, behind the Easterling heroes. That's my opinion.
I think that's a good compromise. I think it just brings something unique to the list as an ally. Whereas, like, compared to Gorulf and Thrydan, and the Easterling heroes are just too good, you know? So.
Okay. We have the Khandish Chieftain next.
Okay, I would actually put him above the king.
Really?
I listened to your unexpected podcast, top models. That was quite controversial. Because I would say
I wish I was actually on the episode. I had to cancel last minute because something was happening. But my reason is 85 points for a Fight 5 model on a chariot that can heroic combat and heroic march is really good. And when you bring them in with conjunction with green ally with Easterlings, they really add that punch that you're missing. So in the context of Khan and Easterlings, I just find myself really enjoying them. I can throw them into a Rohan hero that's 130 points and tie them up. They'll die eventually, but I tie up a hero for like 3-ish turns to 4-ish turns, and that's like enough for me. I totally understand if you guys disagree with me or even put them like low into fortitude. But for me, I've just had a lot of success with them, and I really like 2 or 3 in a list, to be honest.
I don't know. The king just seems like so much better value, and then with the banner effect,
You guys, this is where the Canadians coming out, guys. You guys are like, he's horrible, he's completely wrong, but we got to show a little bit of politeness to him.
No, but I guess you're the one who actually has success with them. Yeah, but I do agree. Like, if you were just looking at value-wise, I would say, okay, they could be similar, but maybe like right next to each other with the king edging it out for me.
Yeah, and I say this in a sense because like I think we all agree the charioteers are not good to take because they can be moved. There's no might or anything. In a sense, for me, he works like a charioteer. To where 85 points, it's a bit of a point sink, but like if you go up against a D4, he'll take out maybe 8 to 12 guys a game. And I've played him often, and he like stops a Glorfindel for like 4 turns, because when you try to kill him, you have to get through the platform, or he'll dehorse like a hero or something, and something that you can sacrifice. For me, the king, with my play style, I like sacrificing like a bishop for a rook, if that makes sense, or like a rook for a queen. The king being so expensive, it's always like sacrificing a queen for a queen, but the chieftain is like sacrificing a bishop for a queen, if that makes sense.
I think if he's gonna go into Valor, he goes behind Thrydan. That's kind of where I'd float him.
I thought you were swayed by Rainier, but instead
You're like, I don't see what you're talking about.
I don't know, man.
I can agree that the chieftain's underrated.
Yeah.
But to me, I think the king's a better profile.
Way better profile for sure, especially the 6-inch banner for the Khandish cavalry charge or chariot charge.
Yeah.
But I don't know, guys. I'm gonna try to bring them with the Dragon Emperor and try to change everyone's mind.
Okay.
Can't wait to see it.
I mean, it depends on your build, right? Like, if you're gonna do it in Easterlings, you bring 2 Khandish chieftains instead of 1 king. That makes a difference.
Yeah, and it is the thing kind of where like you need support with him. He kind of plays like a Huron, where Huron himself isn't gonna kill everything. But if you bring Huron with Boromir, no one's gonna be paying attention to Huron, and Huron can do a lot. And he plays in the same kind of situation. You bring him with a king, and he can do shenanigans. You bring him with the Emperor or Amdur, and he can do shenanigans. So that's it, I guess, the context of why you think he's good. But I can see if you guys want to put him behind Thrydan.
I'm okay with a compromise like this.
I think the fact that like an unnamed Captain King level thing is getting up to this level is pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, we have the Mahud King.
Well, these boys are nasty.
These boys.
I'm a huge fan. I mean, we did an episode on favorite unnamed heroes, and this was my pick. You know, such good value. You can take multiple of them because they're so cheap, and they are really hard to stop sometimes for heroes even twice their points.
Yeah, Suladan and 2 or 3 of them, like, Lord have mercy. They're like mini Boromirs who can kill stuff in the move phase. Where would you guys, out of curiosity, put them?
Legend for me.
Yeah, maybe.
Ooh.
It's hard because I would put them for sure above Amdur. But if Grima's in Legend, I don't. 80 points, right? 80 points or 85 points?
90 points when you kit him up.
90 points when you kit him up with a lance, a camel,
And the shield,
and
yeah.
a shield. That's nasty at strength 5, fight 5. 2 might just strike up, or heroic combat, which I think is good. They're one of the only models that it's like you throw them against a dwarf battle line, and the dwarf battle line starts to shiver because like they're just gonna like, knock past them and destroy them.
You can easily heroic combat through D7 models.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the Tribemaster.
Below Raza.
Yeah, this one's not really needed because if you want the march, you would just ally in Suladan, and you're not saving that many points. I would just take another king if you're going pure.
I'd honestly put him down where like the Haradrim Chieftain did it. Like, I just don't see a point.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I see him just with the pure. You people kind of need march, but even if I had him in pure, I would choose the king over him and go no march.
Yeah, I don't think
the king is.
Yeah, you don't need the march. You're gonna have 10 camels running around anyway. You have enough movement. You don't really need the march.
Yeah.
I'd honestly put him like, fuck it. We need something independent. Drop him down.
No. We're getting to that. Ian.
Hold your horses, I'm getting there.
No. You gotta have an independent tier and then a ruffian tier below that. Cause like, come on.
I like how for the ruffians we'll just be like independent.
Okay, so we're gonna.
I put him down there. I think because he's the only march, I'd put him in front of the chieftain and Golden King.
Below
but
the
just
Taskmaster? Yeah.
Yeah, below the Taskmaster. Well,
I mean, the Taskmaster still does something different.
That's true. You kind of like don't need either of them, but like some people would argue more so that you need the march, which I don't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
Just for that reason, slightly above the Taskmaster.
I mean, the Taskmaster can march too. And yeah, he's only got one might, but he could still whip himself. Ooh. It's semantics, really. They're not like, yeah.
Yeah, I just like that. Like in my image, I'm like, oh my gosh, how terrifying that camel charges in this. But then I'm like trying to picture it in real life, and all I see are these like ugly National Geographic camels, like, and like everyone like, fuck, they're gonna kill me. Yeah.
Okay, the first ruffian hero we have is Sid Briarthorn. He's the chief of the ruffians, and yeah, I mean he's the one with the banner effect and 2 might.
And Hobbit Terror.
That's not bad. Actually.
Is he 6-inch banner just for ruffians?
3-inch banner.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe bottom of minor. Like I feel like in a ruffian list that's one like you'd still want to get in there.
Probably like the top
in a ruffian, he's like this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Here.
He's like the first one you take after Sharky.
I think bottom of minor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Next we have Rowan Thistlewood, the ruffian enforcer. He's also 45 points, but he's only got 1 might, 1 will, 1 fate. His special rule is he can burn down a terrain piece.
So does that just remove a terrain piece from the board?
No, he sets models ablaze within the terrain piece on a 4+. And he can attempt once a game on a 3+.
I mean, it's interesting against hobbits, but I think if you go up against any other army, they're just going to shoot him and kill him with 1 fate or heroic combat and kill him. So for the 45 points, that's not a lot, but in the context of 1 might, 1 fill, 1 fate, I definitely keep it independent.
Once a game ability that only happens 2/3 of the time. I don't know, and it's not even that great.
No one's gonna know what this guy can do. I didn't know what he did. I didn't remember what he did until you told me, like right now. Like
under the assumption that people know the rules, then he's complete garbage.
Yeah, but like I don't know. And then do you even keep track of him in the horde of ruffians? Like I could easily see like in like a 5-game tournament, like you definitely like just burning a bunch of archers randomly, like at least once or twice. Meme tier, I'd put him there. Cause you could definitely like you could troll somebody so hard with this, right? Like with such a weird special rule.
And the next ruffian hero we have is Bill Fernie. So this guy is the one, he's 40 points, and he's the one that can do like a -1 penalty to reinforcements. So like in Maelstrom, for example, basically one warband on an enemy's army suffers a -1.
That's
When do you
kind of cool,
pick that?
actually.
Do you pick it before or after they roll?
At the start of the game.
Oh, so you just have to nominate a warband.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, he's independent.
Yeah.
If you roll a 5 or a 6, it doesn't matter. If you roll a 2, you're helping them.
Yeah, he is the worst.
If you roll
That's
a
true.
2,
They're like, oh dang, I got a 2, and you're like, actually, you got a 1, and they're like, thank you.
yeah. So like, yeah, no, trash.
Okay. I'll put him
It's
below
cool,
the fire
but
boy.
not that good.
There you go, Leaf. He sounded cool when the new book came out, Quest of the Ring Bearer. We were like, yeah, this has potential, but I haven't seen it.
I forget what he does. Doesn't he just shut down darkness?
No, he basically has a 12-inch illumination of an area, but not blinding light. It just basically you can see.
That's bad.
And
Like you get
You
clash.
can't turn it off.
You can't turn it off. He's got his lamp and like, turn it off, turn it off. He's like, I can't. I just can't.
It's like brighter than the sun.
And he has the ability to potentially force one model to stop moving.
How does that one work again?
You spend a will point, and then one enemy infantry model within 6 rolls a d6 on a 3+. He cannot move,
That's actually pretty nasty.
and he has 3 will.
I guess it's kind of like a transfix. So
I could actually do pretty well.
I'd put him
Because
above
resistant.
the other two.
40 points.
Does he go above the other ruffian hero in minor?
Yeah, I say minor or minor.
minor.
Minor. Yeah.
Okay. Worm.
Put him at the bottom of everything in this list.
I don't think so. I think he's might be better than the other ruffians because potential 3 attacks, fight 4.
Wait, how does that trigger?
If no other enemy models can see you other than the ones you're in combat with, he becomes 3 attack, fight 4.
Yeah, but he's also a liability. Because isn't it if Saruman gets wounded, he turns around and tries to kill him?
Yeah, that's true too.
So most of the time you just send him off in front of your battle line to eat an arrow and
Yeah,
get rid of that.
Like if I were to play ruffians, I wouldn't know, but it's
I don't know.
totally
Like-
independent. Totally independent.
Sure.
Okay, in between the ruffian boys.
Oh wow. I mean, like I'm just thinking the only time that 3 attack thing is ever gonna trigger is like if it's an objective like a domination and you just run him to this lone objective away in the corner and somebody else tries to charge him. He's like, ha ha! Like that's the only time it's gonna be useful.
Okay, fine. I don't know. I don't think he's terrible profile. Like potential 3 attacks.
Above Bill Fernie, I think. Bill Fernie's just so bad. But anyway, this has been our tier list of all the evil men heroes. Let us know what you think of our tier list. Feel free to leave your comments down below. And thank you, Rainier, for joining us in this fun tier list.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Looking forward to seeing how the community grows in Canada, and especially on the West Coast. And hopefully one day I'll be on that side of the world to play a game with you guys, or see you guys at Nova sometime.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks to all our viewers for watching. Look forward to the next episode of Into the West.